good to see you all. This is a turning point. I know you've heard that, but we're not kidding. People, kids of all ages, this is it. I am so old.
How old are you?
Yes. I remember when you had to be 21 to vote. And then the Vietnam War came. People got upset about that. And enough people raised concern, and now you you get to vote when you're 18. How many people here are less than 21 but more than 18? Anyone? A few people. Yes. It's up to you guys to, dare I say it, change the world. So, you guys, it really is an extraordinary time. I used to say that the election of 2000 was the most important election of my life. This is where Al Gore, no matter what else you might think of him, won the popular vote, but he didn't become president. But that aside, he would have done something about climate change, but he didn't. And everybody here probably has someone in your family who's thinking about voting for the other side. And yeah. But just remind them, no matter what else, this myth that the economy was some magical thing before the pandemic and the president almost died, but there was extraordinary intervention with clonal antibodies and he didn't die. A million other people did. And this extraordinary idea that inflation was somehow higher here than the rest of the developed world, also a myth. And that the stock market was bigger than it is, which is some big deal. It's all that aside. When it comes to climate change, the other side not only doesn't have a plan, they're pretending it's not happening, and they're essentially taking bribes from the fossil fuel industry. And some disclosure, people, I used to work in the oil field. People forget this. I spent 2 years in exotic places like Snyder, Texas, and Hobbs, New Mexico. Ooh, Hobbs, yeah. You know, Hobbs would fit. Yeah, it would fit in this room, I think. But we don't do that anymore. We can't burn oil anymore. We just got to phase it out as soon as we can. And we got young people here, and you should be optimistic. People start whining, well, it's a turning point, there's nothing we can do. Just people, when you go into any game, if you heard there's the Vikings or 4-0, you go into any game, you think you're gonna win. That's why you're doing it, for crying out loud. So this pessimism, this doomism, I got no time for it. That's why, here I say it. Where are we going? Where are we not going? We're not going back. Woo! Well said. So I like to remind people, when it comes to climate change, there is no comparison. Harris Walz are going to do something about it. They're continuing to get they will continue to get climate legislation passed through things like the Inflation Reduction Act, which the other side was all, we don't like that. We don't like that name. But if you give my state $500 million, I get, I'll vote for it. And so the future is exciting, you guys. This is I was in Sioux Falls, and then we came across into Minnesota. There's a company making sustainable aviation fuel right here, which is, I'm not sure it's going to solve the problem, but it's working our way toward it. And it's things like that that are going to change the world. And so I like to remind people, I have been in many congressional offices, senatorial offices back in D.C., and there are people who are unfamiliar with Article 1, Section 8, what they call Clause 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Article 1 is about the legislative branch. We're going to have a Senate, we're going to have a House of Representatives, we're going to have some votes. Get down to Section 4, we're going to have elections in a timely manner. We're going to respect the outcome of the election. And then Section 8 is kind of the miscellany. It includes letters of marque for dealing with pirates on the high seas. You know, that's a huge problem. And they covered that. And Section 8, Clause 7 is the post office. Do you remember people wanted to close the post office? They still want to close the post. It's in the Constitution. We're not closing the post office. What are you drinking, for crying out loud? Section 8, Clause 8. Congress is to promote the progress of science and useful arts. people forget the word science is in the U.S. Constitution. And I mention this because the other side, with this kookball Project 2025, they want to close the National Weather Service. That's okay. We'll privatize that. Okay, whose satellites are you going to use to track? Oh, the government satellite. Oh, yeah. We're going to close the Hurricane Center. Well, I'll just watch the Weather Channel. Where did the Weather Channel get its information? Are you guys, what is wrong with them? Man, it's crazy making. And so we can't let that happen. And I know you know this. So to promote the progress of science and useful arts is in the Constitution, and climate change is a science problem that we are going to solve by not going back. We are going to go forward. By the way, there's all this controversy right now. I am in 2 unions. I have been a gig worker. I see everybody here is a little burned out from the party yesterday, where I celebrated October 3rd, 1986, when I quit my day job. I know it was huge. It was huge. I know. It was wild. Downtown was just crazy. Bill and I quit his day job 48 years ago. Way to go. But I did. And small businesses is how it runs the country. I'm not telling you anything. So look, you guys, what we want to do is not just win the election. We want to win it in huge, overwhelming fashion, so that all these freaking lawsuits that the other side is going to float, just wasting everybody's time, cannot prevail. So it's up to us, and I'm so glad you guys are all here, because you've heard this, and you're an accountant, you're an auditor, we audit, we account, you teach math.
I was math, yeah, I'm up the numbers. Yep.
And so what does it do? It all adds up. Every vote counts. And you'll meet people who think that their vote doesn't count. No, it all adds up, and that's up to you guys to go knock on doors, make the calls, write the postcards. And when it comes to climate change, I say there's 2 things to do. First thing is talk about it. If we were all talking about climate change the way we talk about a bunch of other very important things, we'd be getting her done. It should not be. Science should not be a partisan issue. It's a political issue. You got to decide where you're going to spend, what sustainable aviation fuel you're going to fund, what satellite you're going to fly, what agricultural research you're going to do. It's political. You got to distribute your intellect and treasure, as it's called, but it shouldn't be partisan. And the other side wants it to be partisan. So people, we're going to do this. Now, you've been through this probably 6 times today, but I will ask you this mythic thing. When we fight, we win! Yes! Yes! And then in a corollary fashion, when we vote, we win! Now the last one I like is change the world. So when we vote, we can, dare I say it, change the world! Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here. Let's go. Let's do that. A quick selfie with the crowd. Yeah. My phone, your phone.